Eurodollars, exit stage left. The Stablecoin Trapdoor in U.S. Debt Strategy, introduction. What if the escape hatch for America's $37 trillion debt problem isn't austerity, higher taxes, or even inflation, but code? What if the future of U.S. monetary strategy lives not in Washington, but in the smart contracts of stablecoin protocols embedded across the cloud? The narrative around stablecoins has evolved rapidly. Once dismissed as crypto's equivalent of training wheels, these dollar-pegged instruments are now the centerpiece of a global monetary shift. While most view them as payment rail innovations or on-ramps for digital finance, a deeper transformation is underway, one that ties directly into the world's most critical macroeconomic question: what happens when the world no longer trusts the dollar? Stablecoins offer a new way to repackage and redistribute dollar exposure, not just as a currency, but as programmable collateral backed by short-term U.S. Treasuries. And unlike traditional offshore dollars, the so-called Eurodollars, these new digital dollars can be regulated, tracked, and crucially, monetized. In this exposition, we'll explore how stablecoins may represent a trapdoor mechanism, a way for the United States to absorb Eurodollar liquidity, tokenize its own debt into a more palatable form, and restart monetary dominance from a more programmable, compliant, and scalable position. This is not a fintech story. It's a sovereign story, and the endgame is being built in plain sight. Section 2, the Eurodollar problem. To understand the significance of stablecoins in the current macro landscape, we have to start with the Eurodollar system, an unregulated, offshore network of U.S. dollar liabilities issued outside the United States. Originally born in the post-World War II era, Eurodollars exploded into prominence during the Cold War, allowing foreign banks and institutions to hold and transact in dollars beyond the reach of U.S. regulation. Over the decades, this system ballooned into a shadow financial universe, fueling global trade, leverage, and liquidity, without ever touching the U.S. banking system. By some estimates, $13 trillion or more in Eurodollar liabilities are circulating through global markets today, primarily in short-term instruments issued by commercial banks, sovereign wealth funds, and shadow financial entities. These dollars serve as lubrication for global commerce, but they also represent ungoverned demand for dollar-denominated assets. They are dollars, but not American. This poses two problems for the U.S. No control. The U.S. gets little benefit from Eurodollar circulation. These dollars don't sit in U.S. banks, don't generate demand for U.S. Treasuries, and don't reinforce U.S. monetary policy. No stability. Because Eurodollars are liabilities without centralized backing, their rapid contraction or growth can trigger global liquidity shocks, as seen during the 2008 financial crisis and again in March 2020. In short, Eurodollars represent foreign-held, systemically risky, and politically unaligned dollar supply. They're useful to the world, but strategically useless to the United States. Enter stablecoins. Section 3, the stablecoin pivot. Tokenized dollars with U.S. collateral. Unlike Eurodollars, stablecoins offer the U.S. a chance to regain control over its own currency's global distribution, not by force, but by programmable design. At the core of most leading stablecoins today, such as USDC from Circle and USD from Gemini, is a simple but powerful architecture. The unit of account is still the US dollar. The collateral is short-duration US Treasuries. The wrapper is a tokenized, bearer format instrument that lives on public blockchains. The regulator is increasingly US state and federal entities. Unlike Eurodollars, these digital dollars can be tracked, taxed, transmitted, and tuned. Most importantly, they create artificial demand for U.S. Treasuries since issuers must buy Treasury bills to back the supply. Each dollar of stablecoin in circulation indirectly funds the U.S. government without the friction of traditional debt issuance. This creates a strategic lever: absorb foreign-held dollars, Eurodollars, into stablecoins, recollateralize them with U.S. Treasuries, regain monetary influence over global dollar liquidity. In this light, stablecoins become a trapdoor through which the U.S. can pull offshore, unmanaged dollar liquidity back under its umbrella with the added benefit of programmable rails, compliance hooks, and real-time monitoring. It's monetary judo. Use the world's demand for dollars against itself, but under new terms. But for this trapdoor to work at scale, one missing piece remains: throughput. Section 4, throughput is sovereignty. Why stablecoin layer 1s matter now. For the U.S. to truly absorb offshore liquidity through stablecoins, it needs more than policy alignment and Treasury collateral. It needs infrastructure. Specifically, it needs a high-throughput blockchain layer capable of issuing and routing stablecoins at scale. Today's blockchains, even Ethereum and Solana, struggle with the kind of scale demanded by real-world monetary systems. 1 million transactions to 1 million wallets, simultaneous settlement of billions in tokenized value, programmable logic for compliance, KYC, and dynamic yield. Most blockchains weren't built for this. Stablecoins are bearer assets. They must be physically transferred, not simply marked in a database. That means every payment, every transfer is an actual on-chain event, and when these events scale into the millions per day, legacy chains buckle. This is why dedicated stablecoin layer 1s are now the holy grail. Protocols like Bridge, recently acquired by Stripe, or Plasma, issuer of the XPL token, are building purpose-designed blockchains optimized for mass distribution of stablecoins to wallets globally, regulatory programmability embedded into smart contracts, instant finality for payment and settlement at commercial scale, integration with fiat on-ramps and off-ramps through centralized exchanges, banks, and even state-backed wallets. The goal is clear: build the monetary freeway, not just a better toll booth. Whichever nation builds or influences this infrastructure will set the default rails for programmable money in the next decade. And right now, the U.S. is positioning itself to be that nation by encouraging regulated stablecoin frameworks like the Genius Act, acquiring private Layer 1 teams, and driving the institutionalization of tokenized dollars. Section 5, the debt trapdoor, monetizing the U.S. deficit via stablecoins. The U.S. government is staring down a $37 trillion national debt with rising interest costs and declining foreign appetite for long-term treasuries. But what if it could engineer demand for short-term debt instruments without needing to raise rates, beg foreign buyers, or risk a sovereign crisis? Enter the stablecoin trapdoor. Here's how it works. Stablecoin issuers back every token with real collateral, most commonly short-term U.S. treasuries like 3-month treasury bills. As demand for stablecoins grows globally, issuers must buy more treasuries to maintain their peg. This creates passive, persistent demand for U.S. government debt, even from users who never directly engage with U.S. capital markets. In effect, the more stablecoins circulate, the more the U.S. government is indirectly funded without issuing new debt through traditional auctions. This model begins to resemble a shadow reserve system where the U.S. dollar is tokenized. The collateral base is treasury bills. The distribution rail is a high-throughput blockchain, and the holders are global participants, from migrants to merchants to hedge funds. It's a synthetic monetary loop, pulling dollars from offshore Eurodollar markets into regulated, observable, treasury-backed instruments. If even $2 trillion of the estimated $13 trillion Eurodollar pool converts into stablecoins, that's a massive new source of debt absorption, comparable to foreign central bank holdings, but on-chain. And it comes with a bonus. Once inside the stablecoin wrapper, the debt can be gradually devalued, just as the U.S. has done before in the 1930s and 1970s. Except this time, it happens in the crypto cloud. This is the real power play. Program the future of money, and you program the path out of debt. This content is brought to you by Bobby Giggs. Promote your brand here and reach a wide audience across platforms like YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook. Follow the links in the description to get started. Section 6, Geopolitical Echoes, from Bretton Woods to blockchain rails. The strategy unfolding today mirrors a familiar pattern in U.S. financial history, one where the rules of global finance are rewritten just as the American system reaches a breaking point. In 1944, the Bretton Woods Agreement codified the U.S. dollar as the world's reserve currency, backed by gold. This gave America unrivaled monetary influence. Every central bank in the world needed dollars, and every dollar was, in theory, redeemable for gold. But by the 1970s, with inflation rising and deficits mounting, President Nixon abandoned the gold standard, defaulting on the promise to redeem dollars for bullion. The world stayed on the dollar anyway because there was no alternative. Today, a similar inflection point is forming. Trust in the dollar is eroding again, not because of gold, but because of unsustainable debt levels and monetary dilution. The world's financial plumbing, the Eurodollar system, the SWIFT network, and foreign FX reserves, is beginning to fracture. But rather than retreat, the U.S. is once again reprogramming the rails by backing stablecoins with U.S. Treasuries, by influencing which Layer 1 blockchains dominate settlement, and by embedding compliance and control through regulatory acts like the Genius Act. In this model, programmability replaces convertibility. Where Bretton Woods relied on gold backing, the stablecoin era relies on protocol control. And just like in 1944 and 1971, the U.S. may again find a way to offload the cost of its financial overreach onto the rest of the world, this time through stablecoin collateral requirements and global token adoption. The trapdoor isn't just financial, it's geopolitical. Section 7, the technology arms race, high-throughput stablecoin chains. At the center of the stablecoin trapdoor strategy lies a core infrastructural requirement, throughput. It's not enough to have tokenized dollars. To serve as the next global settlement layer, these stablecoins must move fast, cheaply, and at scale. This isn't a niche fintech upgrade. It's a sovereign-level requirement for a new global monetary architecture. The challenge. Traditional Layer 1 blockchains like Ethereum or Bitcoin are too slow, too congested, and too expensive to handle the load. Stablecoins are bearer instruments. Every transfer is a full, final movement of value, not just an entry in a bank's internal ledger like PayPal or Venmo. Sending 1 million stablecoin payments to 1 million different wallets requires 1 million on-chain state changes. No traditional blockchain can handle this volume with acceptable latency today. The contenders. That's why a new wave of stablecoin-optimized Layer 1s is emerging. Bridge Protocol, now acquired by Stripe, is building infrastructure that enables mass issuance and high-frequency disbursement of stablecoins, potentially millions of transactions per second. Plasma Protocol and its XPL token are angling to become the de facto high-throughput stablecoin network, with claimed support from PayPal and Tether executives. Even Circle, the issuer of USDC, is exploring dedicated infrastructure paths to escape Ethereum's throughput bottlenecks. In this context, the question becomes strategic. Whoever controls the throughput controls the monetary future. The payoff. A high-throughput stablecoin chain isn't just a technical marvel, it's a geopolitical instrument. It allows governments to issue programmable, compliant digital currencies without needing a full central bank digital currency rollout. It enables fiscal disbursements at scale. Imagine sending $500 checks to 100 million citizens instantly, with no bank intermediaries. It offers remittance corridors, cross-border trade rails, and foreign exchange liquidity that bypass SWIFT. And most importantly, it locks in demand for U.S. Treasuries as stablecoin collateral, pulling in trillions of offshore Eurodollars into the U.S. debt ecosystem without issuing a single new bond. Throughput isn't a feature, it's a sovereign moat. Section 8, the new monetary stack, from central bank digital currencies to synthetic dollars. While central banks tinker with central bank digital currencies, a parallel system has quietly emerged, faster, more scalable, and already embedded in global commerce. Enter synthetic dollars, tokenized representations of U.S. dollars issued by private entities, collateralized, ideally by short-term U.S. Treasuries, and transmitted over public or semi-public blockchains. These aren't just speculative assets, they are rapidly evolving into a monetary layer. Central bank digital currencies versus stablecoins. Let's pause here and look at the slide. What you're seeing on the screen is a simple side-by-side comparison between two competing approaches to digital dollars. CBDCs, central bank digital currencies, and stablecoins, privately issued digital dollars. Let me break it down in plain English. First, who issues them? CBDCs come directly from the central bank. Think the Federal Reserve building the digital dollar itself. Stablecoins, on the other hand, are issued by private companies like Circle, which issues USDC, or Tether. Second, where do you store them? CBDCs would likely live in government-managed wallet systems, still under design in most countries. Stablecoins already live in apps, wallets, and exchanges. You can self-custody them or let a third party hold them for you, just like with regular crypto. Third, user experience and performance. CBDCs are mostly in pilot mode. They're slow-moving, highly controlled, and not yet widely used. Stablecoins, by contrast, already run on live, battle-tested infrastructure. Billions of dollars move across them every day. Fourth, policy agility. CBDCs are tied to traditional policy structures, which means they move slowly and conservatively. Stablecoins are more agile. They can plug into smart contracts, respond to market demand, and scale fast. And finally, what backs them? CBDCs are direct liabilities of the central bank, like holding cash in a government vault. Stablecoins are collateralized, usually one-to-one, with cash or short-term U.S. Treasuries, which brings us back to the broader strategy we've been discussing, using Treasury-backed stablecoins to reinforce demand for U.S. debt. In summary, CBDCs may carry the trust of a central authority, but they're slow and experimental. Stablecoins, while private, are already functioning like digital dollars, and they're doing it with infrastructure, scale, and collateral that fits seamlessly into the U.S. financial strategy. That's the real play here, leveraging private innovation to extend public monetary power. And here's the kicker. Governments can co-opt stablecoins without issuing a central bank digital currency. By regulating stablecoin issuers under laws like the Genius Act, requiring one-to-one collateral in short-term treasuries, the United States can offload monetary plumbing to the private sector while retaining dollar dominance globally. Stablecoins are the synthetic central bank digital currency, but better, faster, and already in circulation. Section 9. Legal and regulatory engineering, the Genius Act, and the custody loophole. At the heart of this architecture lies a legal sleight of hand. The Genius Act, hypothetical or proposed depending on jurisdiction, proposes that stablecoin issuers must hold 100% reserves in short-term U.S. Treasuries or equivalent cash, must offer full redeemability, cannot pass along yield to depositors unless operating under banking or money market fund regulations. But here's where things get clever, the incentive problem. If issuers can't pass on yield from the treasuries they hold, where does the incentive come from? Some, like the XPL token, may represent an off-balance sheet workaround. The platform token accrues value through usage or governance, decoupling utility from regulatory restraint. Others may use reward tokens, fee rebates, or staking-like mechanisms to simulate yield without formally offering it. The decentralized exchange loophole. Remember, custody is the line in the sand. Centralized exchanges must register as money transmitters or trust companies. Decentralized exchanges, like Uniswap, avoid this because they never touch user funds. Smart contracts automate swaps peer-to-peer, no custody, no licensing. This is the regulatory arbitrage that enables non-custodial foreign exchange, on-chain liquidity for synthetic dollars, capital movement without traditional oversight. It's not just a tech upgrade, it's jurisdictional judo. Conclusion, the trapdoor opens. The $37 trillion U.S. national debt is not just a fiscal challenge, it's a structural trap. In a world flooded with Eurodollars and foreign-held Treasury obligations, the United States faces a shrinking window of control over its monetary narrative. Traditional tools, rate hikes, quantitative easing, yield curve control, are showing diminishing returns. But a new tool is emerging, the Stablecoin Trapdoor, a soft reset mechanism that migrates debt into tokenized instruments, wraps it in programmable logic, and distributes it across global networks, backed by collateral the United States already controls. What does this mean? Stablecoins become synthetic debt conduits, absorbing Eurodollars and channeling them into short-term U.S. Treasuries. Demand for the dollar is reinflated, not through geopolitical force, but through digital convenience and liquidity rails. The debt burden is indirectly monetized, not by printing money, but by tokenizing obligation and distributing it into markets that crave dollar exposure. This isn't just a workaround, it's a transformation. It redefines what it means to own dollars, and more importantly, who gets to issue them. Final word. The real pivot is psychological, from currency as trust to tokens as infrastructure. In this world, throughput becomes power, convertibility becomes diplomacy, and regulatory arbitrage becomes strategy. If the 20th century was about Bretton Woods, petrodollars, and central banking, then the 21st will be about protocols, programmable money, and stablecoin hegemony. The trapdoor isn't a glitch, it's the plan.